If we just start to kind of talk through, what have we been seeing? What are folks like yourselves, doing, as it relates to AI or generative AI? I mean, probably no surprise. ChatGPT was the big eye opener, right? All of a sudden, anybody, no matter what level of technical acumen, they might have, could ask a question to an artificial intelligence that they didn't even have to run and start to get valuable or semi valuable answers back. We really saw this as, turning the light bulb on for a lot of enterprise organizations where they realize, okay, we want something like this when our employees or our customers or our contractors or consultants are interacting with an artificial intelligence. We want to make sure that, maybe that sensitive information or those ideas or those questions or the data that they're uploading to the AI stays within, the confines of our governance and our security posture. But again, ChatGPT was very much the big eye opener for everybody. And I'm sure that's not surprising. Um, the pace at which all of this is moving is really interesting. Again, it might not be surprising, especially now at this point where it seems like every other week a new model's coming out that did better than the model that came out, last week or last month. But, if in 2022, it was all about kind of the emergence of large language models, models that were really good at doing and answering maybe semi-generic questions with, really cohesive answers back. Last year, we really started to see the emergence of reasoning models. So now, instead of just asking a question, getting an answer back, now you can start to see how the artificial intelligence is getting to, a particular answer. And again, we're seeing more and more model types start to emerge as well. And then clearly, probably the biggest news of the last 45 days, maybe, is DeepSeek, which is another reasoning model. But the most interesting thing about, DeepSeek, whether you're allowed to use it or not, is the technology that they put together to actually build and train the model. The kind of the big takeaway from DeepSeek is you potentially need a lot less GPUs than we ever thought you may need to start building some of these really valuable reasoning models. So again, whether you're going to be permitted to use DeepSeek or not, based on your corporate posture, the technologies that are emerging again pretty much every month at this point are really offering up breakthroughs that us on the enterprise side are going to be able to take advantage of. So here just to kind of dive in a little bit more into reasoning models, and again here we're telling the artificial intelligence that it's a math tutor. And again, in kind of the ChatGPT days, you would ask a question, the large language model would churn through some, GPU horsepower on the back end and spit an answer back. Now what's happening is the artificial intelligence is asking itself multiple questions. It's iterating through. So now what we're seeing is an increase in consumption of GPU horsepower, maybe some CPU horsepower as well, but also the overall complexity in the models and the model architecture that's likely to emerge, very likely this year in 2025 for a lot of enterprise organizations. Just kind of a little fact here, but again, probably not surprising to anybody. The models are getting really, really, really good, especially at kind of, basic tasks, as well as we're starting to see the emergence of some really strong models at doing, math analysis, which has historically been a weakness of most models. So to kind of sum up what we've been seeing out in the field, 2024, most organizations were getting started deploying the first large language model, maybe unlocking search on a repository of documents through something called retrieval augmented generation, and these AI chatbots, which we're all probably very familiar with now. But 2025, we're certainly starting to see, enterprise organizations at least start to think through how might we take advantage of these reasoning models that are coming out? How might we kind of up level process automation or even robotic process automation that we've been doing for well over a decade with this new emerging, AI technology? So why does this matter from an IT person's perspective, right? If in, 22 to 24, and even clearly today, folks are deploying kind of basic chat applications, chatbots, for the most part, that's interacting with one model. So you've got a query that comes in. Again, it places some demand, typically on an NVIDIA GPU, and an answer is surmised, and an answer is then sent back, into whatever the interface might be, a chat widget on a website, a pretty web page. It looks like a chat GPT, something on a mobile app, etc. Click this again. Where this is going, and for many that we're already starting to do these experimentations and these architectures, is now we're not just interacting with a single large language model. Now we've recognized, hey, we may need some guardrails in place. Let's put a guardrail large language model in the mix to filter questions and make sure people aren't asking things they shouldn't, and also candidly filter answers as well. We're starting to see these reasoning models. We're starting to see external calling to other systems as people start to stitch together again, what will likely be the next wave of, process automation powered by AI. It's going to require a lot more compute, it's going to require more data, and it's also going to require much more complex management of a multitude of models that are now starting to emerge. So Nutanix has, very much recognize that there's a gap for most enterprise organizations, which is, as we continue to evolve to more complex AI systems, how is IT going to manage the models that are allowed to be used, control that through role-based access control, serve up the models, because models candidly are just files that need to be served up so systems and users can communicate with the models. And then again, all of this is still just software. How do we troubleshoot? How do we empower IT to be able to troubleshoot, artificial intelligence performance? And again, while that might not be mission critical today, that's certainly going to become mission critical for most organizations here in the coming year or two.